Well, this is the challenge, and it's something that we try and predict, and we have all kinds of resources available for us to do this, but it is the game that we play constantly to figure out what customers do, why they do it. So we go through these steps and these processes, and like we say with everything else, we'll go through that. But when you look at these steps and this behavior, right, and their decision making, when we look at marketing, we look at the role we play in this, the control or lack of control that we have when we do that. So and during these steps, we want to be able as much as we can to evaluate, and as we said before in previous chapters, go back and reassess if need be. The influences, just looking at these, how they factor in, and doesn't mean that one is more than the other or less than the other, but these also help us determine our marketing campaigns. So again, you look again at some other examples of the math. As I said, basic bottom line math, important stuff. Look, I can tell you that suggestive selling works. Any of you out there that work in the service industry know that it works. Doesn't mean you want to do it all the time, but it does in fact work. So it's just another good example of that and how we can increase revenue by doing that. Internal, like we talked about, lifestyle and those psychographics. As much as I can find out about you as a potential customer, that's what I want to do. And so how do I do it? And how do I figure out, to use a cheesy term, what makes you tick? That's what I want to know. If we look at just restaurants, we look at this very, very generic classification. So, and within those, there are so many different options. But as we say before, understanding what the consumer wants within each of those, and honestly, what the consumer thinks each of those means to them, and what we offer in the service that we give. Now, styles of service here, this is just a very generic thing. Most of you have probably seen a lot of these. I can tell you, when you talk about consumer behavior, it's never our goal to make consumers feel dumb. But what if they never had Russian-style service or French-style service? I've been to places, nice places, where we explain this when they walk in. We give them handouts. Hey, you may be a little alarmed when you see that it's brought out in this way or it's served in this way. That's characteristic of this style of service if you don't know what it is. Have you ever walked into a place and said, this looks too expensive, or this place looks cheap? And maybe that's the reason that you went, or maybe you go in and go, oh, okay, you know what I can tell you about this place? I can't afford it. So understanding what it means. We can also go back and tell you from a person that's been part of restaurant design that, look, we put things in place for a reason. We do music for a reason. We do lighting for a reason. We have traffic patterns for a reason. So that, again, is to help with the customer and help with service and perception. And then non-commercial, we talk about a little bit. When we look at the difference, right? So you go, all right, well, what's the big deal? Well, remember that we're still talking about a level of service. And you go, at a hospital? Yes. And I tell you, right beside hospital, it says nursing home. Retirement centers and nursing homes now some of them are very posh, high-end things. They're not talking about green jello and meatloaf on Thursdays. They're talking about 4-course meals, possibly with wine pairings. and what they're paying for. So it's just an example of, again, types of service and different locations. So as you kind of look through that list, in your mind, kind of say to yourself, like, oh, okay, when I go there, I expect this. When I go there, I expect this. Understanding the processes they make to purchase something is incredibly important. So why would they come to our hotel? Why would they go to our restaurant? Why would they pick our cruise ship line over another? So as much information as we can give, we're going to give. And then when they're done, they go back and they evaluate it. We hope that some feedback is given to us so that we understand, based on everything we've tried to do, whether we are effective or ineffective. What we don't want is them on social media bashing us or going and telling their friends. Listen, they go tell their friends how great everything is. That's good, but we like it to reach a larger audience. So as much as we can, we want to get that response. We talked before about things that affect purchasing and behavior, peer group affiliation, without question. All these things that go into it as we try to build this up. What is it that happens? So some of you may experience this. I can tell you that one of my children is a club soccer player in South Florida, and we go to a lot of tournaments. And what do we see in those tournaments? Sponsorship banners for local restaurants and hotels. And it is based strictly on soccer parents. Now, can we go look and see, is there even more of a characteristic about all the parents on, let's say, my daughter's team? Some of these tournaments have 600 to 700 teams coming in for a weekend. And it may be a longer drive than just going home every night. So they're trying to figure out, hey, if I put this banner up here, are they going to know what it is? Are they going to immediately react? Are they going to leave their son or daughter's game and come to our hotel, stay in our hotel, stay at our restaurant, go to our bar, whatever the case may be? So the characteristics of the segments, as I said, one is not better than the other. They're just different. Now, based on these descriptions that you see here, you can start to look at consumers and what types of consumers may go to one of these different segments. You may also understand within those behaviors what types of other internal and external factors may have them choose one or the other as an option. And again, all can be extremely profitable. Doesn't have to say, oh, you have to be the most expensive one. That is not at all what we're suggesting. We are saying, is there a reason, if you're a QSR, that a certain type of consumer may come to yours? But the expectations within these four segments are generically listed here, right? The reasons for going to a QSR could vary wildly depending on the type of day and the necessity. Hey, we picked this up because we've been driving all day, or, it was by the house. It was the only thing that was open this late. It's a snap decision. We're happy to take the money, but why did the consumer choose that at that particular time? As we talked about before with commercial food service, and what its primary goal is, right? And again, non-commercial can be, but sometimes it's not. Think about food service on college campuses, right? Quality meals to a special group of diners, like I just said, students, whatever the case may be. And a lot of these non-commercial entities, just as an FYI, recruit a lot of our students. And you go, how much could it be? I can tell you that I worked at a campus that their non-commercial food service operation was a $60 million a year operation based on everything they did on that campus. So you never want to think, oh, I mean, that's, there, again, when we talk about this industry, the different outlets that are there, potential career avenues for you, just something to think about. And supporting the mission of the organization, operating it rather than to maximize profits. But you're still working with a bottom line. So, listen, we're not talking about when you go see a football game and you have $11 beers and $8 hot dogs. You understand what the game is there. But, maybe at the dorms and the dining hall where students purchase meal plans, and it's like they go in there and swipe their card and basically can eat whatever they want. And I tell students this all the time, the varying levels of meal plans is another factor as well. But make sure that these young people, mostly young people, pardon me for assuming that, are going to eat. What can we serve them and still keep it within our budget, which is, I'm going to make this up, every student has $9 they can spend a meal. So that factors into it as well. So again, we're back to our key terms. Very, very, very important stuff that you need to know. And again, just levels of service and understanding why someone on the left is choosing that location, someone on the right is choosing that location, the expectations they get from the 4 restaurant segments when they get there. Is drive-through better than a buffet, better than cafeteria style, better than whatever? Not at all what we're saying. We are saying options and various things and why customers choose one over the other. It's not just always money. It's darn right that it can be, of course, but it doesn't mean that it always is. So again, if we start to talk about marketing, is why would they choose that? Listen, the bottom line is, are enough people choosing it, and is our product good enough to warrant them coming back?